In today's podcast, Brandon Biggs talks about what he saw in a 1-hour vision about a financial crisis after the election.
Welcome to another episode of the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Here we will share angel encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as end-time prophecies that are relevant to us today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast.
Hello again and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to hear from Brandon Biggs. If you remember, Brandon actually was shown a vision of a bullet going by President Trump's right ear and saw blood running down his face. He also saw something about an economic collapse that would happen sometime after the election. Well, he recently was shown a 1-hour vision and was given more detail about what's coming. Today we'll hear from Brandon, and he's going to share his updated vision.
I have a word for y'all. This is part 2 of what the Lord showed me in my 1-hour vision that he gave me. I'm a watchman, and I'm telling you what I feel the Holy Spirit has told me. And I'm going to tell you this. We are imperfect vessels. We're getting a message from a perfect God. And whenever we're getting the download, the water is pure. He's putting it into a pipe. The pipe may be flawed. And because of that, it makes the water seem flawed. So whenever God is downloading something into an imperfect vessel and we're relaying his message, the water's pure. But because the water's going through a pipe that could have some issues, it makes the water sometimes messed up. Not that the water's messed up, but because the pipe is. So I'm just telling you all, I do the best I can. I'm a work in progress. And I'm not going to add to or take away from anything. I'm going to be transparent and tell you all exactly what I'm doing for my family and what I believe that we should do. Okay? And I believe with what he's shown me that's coming, that you need to have food supply. You need to have a storehouse. The Lord said, this is one of the things the Lord said to me. Brandon, you need to get your boat ready. You need to get your storehouse ready. You need to have this stuff set aside and prepared for your family. Okay? And so that's what he said to me. Now, for you, I don't know. Like I said, everybody's situation is different. But he said to me, he said, I want you to get your stuff ready for your family. And what I heard him say is have some cash on hand, have some food on hand, get some food, get some water on hand. He told me to have several weeks of bottled water stored up for my family. That's what he said to me. So I went and I'm trying to get all this stuff. It's going to take time. And I believe, like he said, I will take care of my beloved. He said, Brandon, I will take care of my kids. But what you can do is prepare for what you need. I would say it like this. If you don't have anything and you don't have any money to go buy anything, that's fine. God's going to take care of you. But in my situation, I had some extra. I have 3 kids and 2 adults in this house. And I believe, if you could have a week, 2 weeks worth of food, it's smart. And it's not something I'm going to hoard back and go, well, it's just going to spoil. If you don't eat it, you can alternate it out and eat it as you go, and then replenish it. Canned tuna or whatever, and it lasts for a while. But whenever it gets ready to expire, eat it. So I'm not going to keep kicking that. But and then the other thing was he spoke to me about tradable things. Like say you had your neighbor had a chicken and you have a ounce of silver, and you went over there and said, listen, I'll give you this ounce of silver for a chicken or some vegetables or whatever. That's what he was showing me in the spirit about this for my family. He talked to me about having a car with good gas mileage that gets, 35, 40 miles to a gallon. Right now I have an SUV and it drinks a lot of gas. So if you have the means to get maybe a Honda or a Toyota or something, maybe that would be a wise decision. I'm not, I don't know any other car that gets a lot. I'm not big on electric cars. I had one for a while and I did not like it. So having a car that gets good gas mileage. If you can ask your doctor for your circumstance about your medication, having enough medication, if you are on something that keeps you alive, having enough to get you through a week or two extra, just in case there's a shortage in that. I saw shortages of certain medications coming because of trade wars with China. Okay? So whenever they go against Taiwan and the United States is upset about it and all that starts to happen, I saw prescription medication in some kinds, not all, some kinds becoming very hard to get. So if you have to have some kind of blood pressure medicine or diabetic medicine or some kind of heart medicine or something, maybe you can talk to your doctor and say, listen, doc, I need an extra 1 to 2 weeks ahead of time. Or ask them, if you have out of pocket money, maybe it's not too much to just buy it. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I'm just trying to put some ideas out there for y'all. I believe that God is going to take care of you anyway. If you can't get that medicine, I believe that that Jesus will keep you alive and you won't go home. I'm not up here trying to scare you. I'm trying to prepare you. That you should have this stuff in your mind to think we are in the end times and labor pains are coming even greater in the days ahead. Okay. And so I would just say it's something to have precaution about. I told you about having big screws in your doors. Some people say, what about our windows? I'm just trying to slow the bad guys down. I saw people looting houses and robbing homes in major cities. When the economy crashes, when things go to pot, I saw people acting a fool. Rioting. I told you, I saw signs of people standing around saying we want our entitlements because Social Security was cut off for a while. Government funding, food stamps, things like that. It was bad. And so people were rioting, and like I said, during the C word, when all those people were acting crazy for toilet paper, just think about the grocery store shelves. I told everybody that there was no food on the shelves. There was cobwebs, and it happened that fast. And they had to combine what was in one store from that store to combine it to another store. And it was a central location with armed guards. People were so you couldn't rob the grocery store. And that sounds crazy, but there was armed guards at the grocery stores. And people need to understand when you can't feed your family, people act stupid. So you need to know that you have to have, I believe in the Second Amendment personally. And you say, would you shoot somebody for food? If you're going to come in my house and try to hurt me, yes, I'm going to have to defend my family. But if you're asking for a cup of rice, I'll do what I can. But my family comes first. That's just the bottom line. If you haven't taken the means to provide for yourself, why are you going to try to take from me? It's like the old hen that went and got all the grain and worked hard, and then everybody came and tried to eat her bread after she baked it. She did all the hard work and got it all set up aside for her chicklets and her. But then when the dog and all that in the childhood story, they all came to try to eat her bread, she said, no, it's not for you, it's for me. Because they didn't put in the work to try to save back for their family. They didn't want to take the hard time and the hard work and set aside. So it's not our job always to feed everybody. You got to make sure your family's taken care of too. And God is a God that multiplies. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, I've seen what's coming. And so I'm going to go back to the vision. Whenever the Lord spoke to me and I saw this open-eyed, he showed me. He said, Brandon, Jesus told me, he said, Brandon, this is going to last and be a lot harder than what people realize. They are not taking it seriously. And he said, Brandon, this is going to be more of an extended time than you realize when this happens. And he said, this will not be prayed away. He said, there's going to be a shaking to awaken. He said, Brandon, there's a humbling coming. And in this humbling, this will bring a great revival. People are asking for revival, but their heads are stiff-necked. They're arrogant. They're pompous. And there is a remnant of people that God is wanting to call. And just like I told you, this is the last call. This is the last call. He's trying to get the sheep in the back field. Are you one that's going to run to the Father? And out of mercy, I'm telling you all, we will not be a goat nation. He said, the prayers of our founding fathers still go before him. And he said, what is coming is not my judgment, Brandon. It is a shaking. It's a shaking. And he said, it will wake up the people, for they are asleep. Jesus said this to me. He said, they are asleep, and I will wake up the church. I will wake up the people. And I saw no denominational barriers. Baptist, Methodist, Catholic, Episcopalian, whatever. Everybody came together as one when this happens. One. Similar to how everybody came together in World War II, and the women came and worked in the factories just to keep everything afloat. Everybody tried to pitch in as an American to keep our country going, to build things for our troops that were fighting. And that's the way I saw it in the spirit. I saw the body of Christ coming together as one. No denominational boundaries. Okay. Everybody was as the body of Christ. It wasn't about the charismatic. It wasn't about the seeker friendlies. It wasn't about I'm talking about boom, body of Christ, because people were desperate. And that's what I saw in the spirit. And it was beautiful because we operated just in love. And it's going to be an act of love in these last days that's going to bring forth the glory. If you're stable and you're grounded and you're rooted in love, you will see the manifestations of the glory of God. It's going to take this, walking in love. What did you do with love? Just like those two angels told me. He does not realize, he said, when he gets to heaven, is what the Lord will look at the most is what did he do with love? How did you act in love towards your brethren? How did you treat each other? Did you treat them with hostility? Did you walk in bitterness and jealousy and pride and arrogance toward them? Was there competition all the time? Or did you walk in love to your brother? And that's what the Lord said. You don't worry about what they say about you, Brandon. Just keep walking in love. Because love takes no account of suffered wrong. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love them. Love them. Love them, Brandon. And I'm telling you, it's not always easy to do that, but it's going to take that, okay?
We'll return with part 2 of our podcast with Brandon Biggs right after this message. Hello again. This is The Watchman. Please join us each week for an exciting and inspirational podcast dealing with angel encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. So tune in each week and share it with your friends. After all, they could use a little inspiration in their life, too. That's the Watchman on the Wall podcast, and now you can find us on YouTube. We return now with Brandon Biggs, who's sharing his 1-hour vision.
So I saw people coming together in communities, growing up and helping each other. But I saw brush harbor churches. And I looked it up, and I know it has to do with persecution, okay? It's a touchy subject. I don't touch it, but it's just real. This is what I saw. I saw harbor churches, and as I knew the root of this was, I looked it up because I didn't know what it was. But they built these things in the woods so that they could worship freely and not be persecuted by the people that were bad. Okay. I saw these churches that were it was like revival in rural areas. Harbor, old hay is what I'm going to say, hay and tents, old revival like that. It wasn't like modern day mega church, big buildings. It was like brush harbor churches. They were That's the only way I can describe it, okay? But they were having revival, and they were going in the country. I could see major fields, but you know how the grass grows really high? I could see the sage grass and the grass growing really high all around these like fields where people were going and having churches. But they looked like old Pentecostal churches. How the women don't wear makeup and the buns are in the hair, you know, and very holiness, you know? That's the way it looked, okay? Then the Lord showed me tractors, major, huge combines and big mammoth tractors, completely dusty, sitting in fields, not able to go. I saw fields plowed with no crops in them at all. And I thought it was just in one area. And the Lord took me above the United States of America. And from west to east, there was no crops in any of the farmers' fields. They were completely barren. There was dust blowing in the wind, and there was dust all around because there was no crops. I don't know why this was, but there was the tractors were not moving. And then the Lord said to me, there's no water. There's no water. And he repeated it 3 times. There's drought. There's no water. And I looked upon Texas and over Lubbock area and all down through that area, all where the ranchers would be, all the plains area. There was drought and I saw no water. There was a lack of water for some reason, whether that's, through the, I believe it's probably like I'm saying drought, but there was no crops. And I don't know if the tractors didn't have fuel or if there was no seed. I don't know. But there was no major agriculture things going on. And then I saw individual gardens. In everyone's house, they had a garden of some sort. Whether it was small or large to feed a community or whatever, they had little areas in their backyard or in their front yard with tomatoes, cabbage, whatever they could grow. So, but it was like, you know, a little patch of land, not huge, a little patch, just trying to feed their families. But everyone in their front yard or their backyard had some kind of growing something, okay? And that's what the Lord showed me, was people were trying to live, trying to just keep alive, but trying to grow something, okay? So then he showed me Jerome Powell again, and I saw him trying to manipulate that big membrane, that balloon that I told you all about again. He was letting the air out of the balloon, trying to not let it bust. But he was doing it slowly. He was trying just to try to control it. He was manipulating the balloon to keep it afloat as long as he could, letting the air out and blowing it in, trying to just manipulate it. And he was sweating profusely in this vision. And the Lord said to me, what you are seeing right now on this last week with the 2 trillion lost on Friday and the 1 trillion lost on Monday, he said, Brandon, this is Braxton Hicks. False labor pains that are taking place. The true labor is yet to come. This is false labor. And he said, they're going to try to control it. Okay. So I saw, now I'm going to be very cautious with this. I saw, it looked like a valley and it was split into 2. And there was solid black darkness over here. Okay. And solid black darkness over here in this valley. And Jerome was walking in the middle of this valley, and it was a dusty dirt road. And he was walking on it, but there was a wall on this side and a wall on this side. And on this side, this person was there, and his name was Obama. And so I'll just say it. And he was there, and he was influencing, telling him what to do. I saw him in the background. Okay. And then over here was people in Europe. Okay. And they were very big businessmen telling him what to do. And they had interest in the American economy. And there was a group of men. It wasn't just one. Okay. Like I saw only one face over here. It was Obama. But these men over here, I could see them, and they were very evil men, but they were in business suits, very with gold on. They looked very wealthy. And some of them had bald head with hair on the side. I saw, they were elderly men. They weren't younger looking. And then the Lord showed me Ukraine. And the money that was being printed for the war, they were doing something with this money. And I cannot go into all that, okay? But they were doing something with this, preparing. They knew what was coming with the economy. And they were taking some of that money and they were doing stuff with it. Okay. And that's where I'll have to leave that. But there was I'll just say this, there was a lot of corruption with this. There was no accountability with this. There was hidden agenda on this on purpose. And so, the Lord showed me this, and it was over in Europe, and it stretched, and I saw it go clear into Moscow secretly. Very interesting. So then the Lord spoke to me and he said, there's a lot of people that you've communicated with in the last couple of weeks. He said, Brandon, there will be a lot of them, YouTubers included, that their hearts are far from me. He said they believe that they're okay and that they're hearing me. But he said there's some of them that you've talked to recently that would be broke within a day. They're going to wake up and everything that they've ever thought that they saved back because they're not listening to me right, they'll lose it all that fast. And he said, Brandon, he said, I've called you, and this is what he said to me, I've called you to be separate right now. I've called you to seek me. He said, put me first in this. It's time to separate yourself and come up higher. He said, there's a lot of distractions with people. They're being distracted. They're not hearing for what's coming. They're not getting their boats ready. And he said, it's time to go back to the basics and the fundamentals of Christianity. What got you here in the first place? Stop swaying around with all these different distractions. Cut them off. Seek me. For in the days to come, it's going to require more of me and less of you. Staying at the foot of the Father. You will not make it being half Christian, half world. You are going to have to be all in. Are you all in? And I say it like this. I am anointed to do YouTube in a way that the world is not familiar with, all for the glory of God. I am anointed to pray and to hear his voice in a way that the world is not familiar with, all for the glory of God. Do everything you do, all for the glory of God. It's not about me. It's not about the people. It's about Jesus. And that's why I posted the video yesterday. He said, I want you to post this video today, Brennan. I want you to post it tomorrow. Am I in control of your channel or are you? I said, Lord, you are. I will follow what you tell me to do. And I said, it won't be popular. He said, I don't care. I didn't call you to make friends. I called you to pray. I've called you to be set apart unto me and listen to me. So I do what he tells me to do. And so today he warns me to tell you there's a great shaking coming and I hope you're ready for it. I don't know exactly when the day it will manifest. All I know is that he said, I will provide for my beloved. I will take care of my bride. I will take care of those that are separated unto me. If you are seeking him daily and not just on Sunday, you're going to hear him for what's to come for your family. If you're supposed to relocate, I told you all, I saw big migrations of people going from place to place, leaving major cities, leaving towns that are corrupt, getting in a place of refuge, getting in a place that your family will be provided for what's coming. I do not try to scare anybody because you may not have the means to move. But I believe with all my heart that God will put you in the path to where you're supposed to be if you're seeking him, and he will supernaturally provide for you. So I just want to encourage you all today. Don't give up on believing God for big, because he told me I'm going to provide a Goshen for my people. I'm going to provide when it was dark. And this is what I thought was interesting. The Bible even says that whenever the children of Israel, whenever they were there in Goshen, that there was a dividing line of darkness between Egypt and Goshen. But it was so much so that you could feel the darkness. I don't know how much darkness that you're able to feel, but the darkness was so dark that you could feel it. So the Lord showed me that it's going to be a type and shadow of this, that the dark will be so dark on the world and the light will be so light on the Christians that we will stand out, that we will be the light and the salt, and that they will come for the revival. They will come for the move of God in your area because they're desperate. They will not know what's coming. But if you have ears to hear what the Spirit is saying, He will lead you and guide you into all things. He will show you the things to come, and you will not be caught off guard. You will be the head and not the tail, and above and not beneath. Deuteronomy 28, all that passage is for you, that the enemies will see that you're called by the name of the Lord, and they will be afraid of you. Not a call to fear, but a call to prayer. And having yourself girded up, ready to minister to the lost in these last days, because Jesus is going to bring in a harvest, but He's got to get their attention. And right now, people don't have He don't got their attention. It's going to take a shaking to waken. Remember that. So God bless you all.
Well, thanks again for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Any comments or suggestions you may have, you can send to thewatchmanonthewall2020@gmail.com. We encourage you to subscribe so you'll always be notified of our future episodes. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Watchman on the Wall podcast.